welcome to Budget Arcade, the free-to-play gaming podcast to help you navigate through the growing realm of free-to-play games. That over there is Mark.
Hey.
And me over here, I'm Jeff. And each and every other week we record we record podcasts every week, but each and every other week we review a free-to-play game. On these off weeks, Mark and I don't know what we do. I say it every time, and yet we keep doing it. So
here we are.
Here we are. We did it again. So I got a couple things I want to address in this episode. We're going to talk largely about the Cyberpunk 2077 launch, arguably the most anticipated game of 2020. And I want to also kind of, in this conversation, we are going to talk about Stadia. And I want to kind of go back to that a little bit because I've had a lot more time with it. And some of my opinions may have changed. How's that sound?
That sounds great. And speaking of the most anticipated launch, has this been the most bungled launch in recent memory?
For Cyberpunk?
Yeah, Cyberpunk.
I can't recall a game that has been botched so badly that both Sony and Microsoft openly offer refunds. Neither of those companies, especially Sony, like refunding anything. So I've had to refund games from Microsoft before, and it's an arm and a leg sort of harassing, annoying thing. You have to call them. Good luck trying to call Microsoft, and you get someone on the phone, and you tell them why you don't want it, and then. But we'll get into the returns and everything. But needless to say, I can't remember a time when there's been a game that has had this sort of reaction where both of the major console providers are saying, "Hey, we will give you a refund."
All right, so let's run down the launch issues real quick with this game, and I'm reminded to tell all of our listeners that this game was actually delayed several times, but most recently from its original launch date, which was I think it was October, late October to.
They definitely wanted to get, they still met the Christmas rush, but I think the idea is you want to be out before Black Friday,
right?
So that sounds about right.
Yeah, and so it was originally, I'm pretty sure it was late October, and then at the last second, they pushed it back until December 10th, and that, to me, that screamed, wait a minute.
Literally.
Wait,
you're gonna have to.
Well, you think about games and releasing in the fall window, the fall catalog, and this, like you said, it's one of the most anticipated games of probably the past 2 years, and and it was just this immediate red flag when they pushed it back, a month and a half or so, and I wondered why. Well, now we know. Mm-hmm. I want to bet that CD Projekt, the developers behind this game, probably knew this game was not ready to release on all of the platforms simultaneously.
So let's get into that, because there's more behind that. So obviously you talk about delays, and delays never really bother me because hopefully you're making the game better. I mean, Rockstar is known for setting dates they can't meet, right? And they often delay games a year. And I just started playing the new Red Dead, and it's phenomenal. So when they do get around to actually releasing their game, it's great, right? And, people can complain about waiting for it, but it's better than getting some sort of mess, because is what you've seen here. So one of the big issues is that I don't know if anybody, I watched the IGN review of this, and in that review, they mentioned that CD Projekt Red insisted that they not use any footage from current consoles, your Xbox Ones and your PlayStation 4s. And they also said, hey, you need to use our trailer footage in your reviews for your YouTube channel. And so, of course, IGN did, because they are corporate and they do what they're told, and they're not free to actually speak their minds. And
well, let's be real. Those are all red flags.
Oh, undoubtedly. And so the big thing is that the game came out on modern consoles, and I'm not talking next gen. I'm talking this modern console generation, and it basically was like unplayable. Textures were bad. It was horrible looking. And so that's where I think you definitely need to offer refunds. Before both Microsoft and Sony said they would be open to refunds, CD Projekt Red had come out and said, we will give you a refund if they won't, which good, because you need to. And it's not, I'm not saying like, hey, CD Projekt Red's a good company, look what they're doing. They did a lot of stuff to put themselves in this position. And I think the shadiest of which was not showing people what the game was going to be like on their console of choice. And they absolutely owe anyone who wants it a refund.
So the developer has promised that there's going to be game fixing patches releasing for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, both in January and February. My issue is why? Why did this happen?
Okay.
And so. Yeah, and I'm sure you have an answer, but that's
yeah.
That's like my overarching question behind all of this is CD Projekt is such a good developer. Okay, let's remove Cyberpunk from this, but all of their previous games have been somewhat...
The goodwill they earned with Witcher 3 alone.
Yeah.
You know, it was like people... They were kind of that... You know, I think of like Blizzard before they sort of got big and huge. Just someone you could count on, hey, they're going to drop a great game. But now that's definitely a hurt image they have.
So why do you think they have had such a large issue with this game on modern consoles?
Oh, because they built it for next gen tech. I mean, all right. So I don't really have a problem with their, like, had they skipped the current generation and only put it on next gen, then we'd be having a different discussion. But they announced this game early enough where everyone thought it was coming on current gen devices, and you know, I don't know. Like, I don't make games, and I don't know what it takes to optimize a game for older hardware. But I will say the reason this happened is because there are corporate people in suits that run companies like CD Projekt Red that you keep mentioning the developers. And while that's fair to call them the developers, they're not the actual artists who make the games, who put CD Projekt Red in this position. It's the high, your CEOs and your VPs and the people who make the big bucks that don't actually care about games but care about money. And here we are, they've delayed the game twice, and hey, you need to get this out for the holiday season no matter what. So your developers are put in a position to say, okay, it's not done, it's not going to look good, but hey, you need to meet your quarterly results. Well, so that's, to me, why it happened.
And I agree with that. There are CEOs level people making these calls for both CD Projekt Red and Microsoft and Sony. However, don't you think that Sony, and granted, Sony hasn't had a problem selling the PS5, and Microsoft has not had a problem selling the Xbox Series X either, but
right.
Don't you think that there would be more what's the word? Demand for this game if they had scrapped the PS4 and Xbox One versions and just exclusively made it a next gen title? You're talking console seller.
Yeah, but they don't. CD Projekt Red doesn't own any consoles, right?
No,
so
no, but Sony and Microsoft are in CD Projekt Red's pockets, though. So
no, whoa, okay, that's speculation at best. But they essentially, the way licensing works is CD Projekt Red will pay a portion of their sales to PlayStation and Microsoft respectively. So there's a mutual relationship there where so here's why CD Projekt Red wants it on all the consoles is there's more potential buyers.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like you said, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox, the PlayStation 5 and the Series X are very difficult to get a hold of. So if you launch exclusively on those, you're highly limiting the amount of units you can move on top of whatever quarterly goals we talked about. So I don't think that makes sense to them from a financial standpoint as far as like the corporate suits go. So now maybe you delay. Honestly, the game should have probably been delayed even longer. Yeah. I mean, that's really the answer. But so I want to say, let's talk about quickly where the game does run well. And that's if you have a monstrous PC. I was watching some Twitch streamers, and you're still going to run into bugs, but these are more just in-game sort of open world bugs you're used to running into if you played open world games before. Maybe just a little more severe. But if you have a big, beefy $2,000 PC, you could probably run it okay. Or if you decided to purchase it on Stadia, you would have a pretty good experience. So,
did you have a good experience, Jeff?
Running the game, yes. So let me say a couple things. So I did. I kept seeing on Twitter and on Reddit, everybody like, "Hey, the game's great on Stadia. The game's great. It's working. It's running. It's good on Stadia. Just get it on." And I'm like, okay. So I pull up Stadia, and they are running another promotion where if you buy this is over now, but if you buy Cyberpunk 2077, you would get the premium edition of Stadia, so you'd get a controller and a Chromecast Ultra. So I was like, that's $100 bundle, but here I can pay $60, get the bundle and a $60 game. So I did it. I said, okay, we'll try it out. And the game ran great, looks great on Stadia. Now, I do want to say Stadia uses up a tremendous amount of bandwidth. My usage has gone way up since I've been messing around with Stadia. But the game runs great. Now, is the game great? It's not really my type of game. And some of the complaints I did, if you listen back to the Stadia episode that I had, still ring true here. I find that for first-person shooters and games that require heavy reflex reactions, Stadia isn't quite there yet. However, you can get used to it. You can acclimatize to the input lag and adjust your play style to kind of make it work. And for a lot of people, this is really the only way to play the game as it was meant to be and have it run properly would be on Stadia. Because let's face it, most people don't have big monstrous computers and their home consoles aren't getting it done. So apparently the Reddit for Stadia has blown up. Like, this has been a huge boon for Google Stadia, that they have something that the consoles can't offer. It's almost like it's an exclusive to the point because everybody else has it running like trash unless you have PC. So apparently that promotion they ran did very well for them. They sold out of units, and the usage numbers are way up to the point where I had connectivity issues.
So it's interesting that this is almost, like you just said, it's almost like an exclusive. And if you want, you want actually to experience the game how probably the developer intended it to be, Stadia might be the way to go. And that to me is fascinating, is because I don't think Google anticipated CD Projekt Red's issues on modern consoles, and two, the game running pretty well on its own console.
I would say that they probably pushed hard to get there. And the thing is that, so the whole idea of Stadia is that you have access to these huge computers that are more powerful than anything you could ever hope to have in your home, and have it stream the game content to you. And so therefore you don't have to upgrade anything. And this is that promise realized, I think. It's saying, hey, that game runs like trash over there. Come and check it out here. Now, I want to say a couple more things about this, because I did kind of poop on Stadia. I won't say poop. I was very fair with Stadia, I think, because I had a lot of positives to say. But I have since been playing it even more. Like, I haven't, as much as I've been meh on it, I keep coming back to it just because it's so easy and to use, and it's accessible on my phone, computer, and my TV. So it's kind of in every room in my house, whether I like it or not. But so I played that game. I ended up going to Google and returning it, and Google makes it very easy to return your games. I had no issues returning my copy of Cyberpunk 2077, mostly because it wasn't the game for me. It's not because of how it ran. It's just not my type of game.
I didn't understand.
Ooh,
I wasn't talking to you, Google.
You started poo-pooing on Google.
Shut up, Google.
And she was like, wait a minute. Let me chime
Google,
in.
stop listening. All right. How dare she? All right. I don't know what I was talking about, but anyway, okay. So here's what the magic of Stadia is this, right? Is that I said, I'm going to play Cyberpunk. I bought the game and I booted it up. I didn't have to wait 4 hours for 60 gigs to download. I hit start. I I bought it on my phone, did my one tap buy, and the game was booting up on my screen.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's the magic of it, right? There's no updates. It's just, I'm playing. So after I returned the game, they're running their Christmas sale on Stadia, and I haven't played it yet, and I've been meaning to, but they had Red Dead Redemption on sale. And I had seen some comparison videos of how it ran on other platforms, and Rockstar games are notable for how lengthy their load times are. You have upfront, you have just this enormous, like what feels like 5-minute block of load times.
Oh, yeah.
But I watch comparisons on Stadia, and it's less than a minute. It's like really quick load times comparatively to what's out there. So I was like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get Red Dead. So I bought it on my phone, and I was in bed, and I hooked my Kishi Razor up to my phone, and I'm playing the game. I didn't have to download or anything. It almost bears repeating, but I bought the game, and boom, I'm playing it. And then this morning I got up and I went into my den and I fired up my Stadia controller, and the game was there, and I'm having a great time playing it. So I think that this will be the end of my conversation on Stadia. We can go back to CD Projekt Red, but they kind of go hand in hand, is that I think that Stadia is a fantastic platform for games like Red Dead Redemption, Assassin's Creed games. But as soon as you go first person, there's that input lag starts to become noticeable, at least to me. I don't feel like I have complete control, but playing a game like Red Dead, where a lot of times you're just riding a horse through the snow, it looks amazing, and you don't have to install a huge thing, and it's on all your devices. But I just kind of want to say I think I have a place in my gaming life for Stadia in its current state, and it's based around these AAA single player experiences that you tend to like, Mark.
Yeah, no. So, and real quick on it was Red Dead Redemption 2 that you're playing, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, my experience with Cyberpunk 2077 is very limited, because I installed it on my PS4, and then I quickly went through the setting up my character, and just dabbling a bit in the introduction of the game, because I've been playing Valhalla, and I'm a one game dude. I can't play multiple games at once. That's just maybe it's my ADHD brain. I don't know. But so you talk about Red Dead Redemption 2, and you riding a horse for a large portion of the game, and the horse gameplay being such an intricate feel for the environment, Rockstar completely remodeled their the horse riding gameplay. They completely rewrote it, and I can tell you, and this fits into the Stadia conversation, is because I feel like a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 would benefit more from a Stadia, like you had mentioned, because it's so clean. The horse riding gameplay mechanic, is so clean in Red Dead Redemption 2 that, like, compared to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is a very good game, but the horse riding mechanic is maybe one of the weakest aspects of Valhalla, and it's
and go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's so noticeable from going from Red Dead Redemption 2, which came out last year, to a next-gen title, which Valhalla is, even though I'm playing on a current-gen console. It's so... And I would be interested in just playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on a next-gen console, just for the horse riding mechanic, is because it was so good in that game. I know that's a tangent and that's a different conversation, but I feel like
let's have a horse podcast.
Two guys and a horse. Don't look that up on Google. So let's get back into CD Projekt Red, and I feel like, and we didn't mention this at the top, but another issue that this game has had is that now people are suing CD Projekt Red, bringing litigation against it because it's such a sloppy launch, and it just had so many issues. That how do you think this game recovers, or does this game recover?
I think the game will recover next generation. I think they'll get it running great on next-gen hardware, and I think that's where people will play it. I think they'll have a Game of the Year edition, and I think it'll find its place, but it will always rest in the shadow of this launch, because it was bungled that badly.
Yeah, I'm actually... I'm sorry, Jeff.
I was going to say, to me, the bigger question is, how does CD Projekt Red recover? I mean, are they going to be able to put out a Witcher 4 game that is good enough to wipe this from people's memory, Yeah,
and that's an interesting question, because I can see, and I'm actually on the opposite of you with this, is I don't think this game recovers. I think this game just probably sails off into the sunset, and if you enjoy it and you're playing it, cool. I think CD Projekt Red is as soon as they release these patches for the game, they're probably looking to cut their losses and move on to whatever they're doing next.
Now, they currently have a couple DLCs planned. So I think that we'll still see those, because I think it's still going to be a huge seller, right? I think
it already is.
With all this bad press and the refunds, that people are going to... I mean, you look at No Man's Sky and the way that game's turned around and the way people feel about it now as opposed to how they did at launch. That's a much smaller team, so I think they can rebound. But I think that when this is going to be in people's minds the most is the next time they're ready to put money down on a CD Projekt Red game. And more people might be willing to say, I'm going to wait. So I'm going to see what people say about it before I pick it up.
Yeah, and so this... I've been trying to rack my brain for a game that completely missed the mark as bad as this game did. And I really can't...
The only ones I can think of never came out. Like, I think NBA Elite 11, I think it was called. And they released the demo. People pooed all over it. And they said, okay, we're just not going to release it. And that's EA. I mean, when EA's doing a better job than you, CD Projekt Red, that's a bad situation. That's a bad place to be, where you're releasing garbage and that EA wouldn't even release. And they have no standards.
So my next question is does this cause CD Projekt Red to realign itself? Maybe.
What does that mean?
Maybe rebrand itself. You know, the CD Projekt name has been attached to Witcher. That has been their bread and butter. That has been their moneymaker. And now their name has been dragged through the mud by their own doing, but dragged through the mud because the game is so unplayable, so bad, that it is now potentially going to hinder them from selling future games. And that's a business decision, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad where they need to rebrand. And I think one game does not ruin it. I think their brand is still intact. And I think rebounding with an amazing Witcher 4 game and making good on this current game is going to go a long way to get people where they want. I think the big thing is they need to not try to deceive people again. Right. And that's really the fact that they released a bad game, to me, is neither here nor there. I don't care. If they released just a big chunk of garbage like they did, that's fine. But they covered up that it was a big hunk of garbage, and they wrapped it in a pretty wrapper, and they put it out there. And so people had no way of knowing. And in a lot of ways, they use that, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? They use their goodwill incorrectly by dumping this pile on people. So, me personally, I would rather they say, hey, it's not running how we want it to on current gen hardware. So we're going to release these dates on these specific platforms. You know, I don't know. To me, the right answer is just to be transparent, and they need to be transparent from here on out.
Well, so here's an interesting quote from I think it's the head of CD Projekt. In a quote, I guess this was a quote to IGN, but it says, "We have also stated that if your expectation is that the game is going to be equal to, say, next gens or PC in terms of performance," now he's talking about PS4 and Xbox One, that definitely isn't going to happen. This is Michael Nowakowski, who is CD Projekt Red's SVP, Senior Vice President, quoting to IGN.
Yeah, this is the guy who is to blame.
Right. And he continues, having said that, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game, but if your expectations regarding, say, visuals or other performance angles are like this, then we're openly stating that's not going to be the case. It will be a good, playable, stable game without glitches and crashes, though. That's the intention.
Yeah.
But he also goes on to say that they had rejected the idea of adding 200 to 300 extra people to work on this game, but then goes on to blame COVID-19 for a lot of the game's bugs is because they did not have the people to test for them. So
that's false. That's okay. From a corporate standpoint, that's false. That doesn't make any sense because COVID-19 would not affect game development or game testing because there are people working from home. Right. If anything, it benefits you because you have a lot of people working from home who probably lost their job recently. And so I think you could probably hire game testers on the cheap and they could, test the game on their home thing and send you, everything's virtual now.
Right.
Anyway, that to me is not a good excuse. That's a corporate scapegoat is what that is.
Yeah. And that brings me back to what you said before, is that they used all of their goodwill that they have built up over years and years, and just kind of just said, "Hey, sorry about your luck. You thought this game was going to be like a next-gen experience? No, you're dumb." And that, to me, speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. And I think, and you can look across the landscape of gaming, and of the industries that have been affected by COVID-19, you can look and say that gaming might have been the least affected.
Right.
Because there was still, you say you're playing Valhalla. That's out now. I've been playing Call of Duty Cold War. That was in development during COVID-19, and it runs great. So to me, that blaming COVID is just too easy for them to try to do, but it doesn't make sense when your competitors are going through the same situation and putting out great games still,
right,
and on time, right? I mean, I haven't played Valhalla, but how's it good? It sounds like you're enjoying it, right?
No, it's a great game. It's a new experience, much in the mold of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but you can tell that Ubisoft took its time, and now Valhalla is not without its bugs. There are still bugs.
Right, there's going to be in open world games.
Right, but it's such a polished game that you can say, "Hey, this is an Ubisoft Assassin's Creed game," but it's much in the mold of Odyssey and Origins, and there's not that. Oh, this game is completely unplayable. They released a game in the age of COVID that is good. Now, yeah. I don't know if it's game of the year, but it's good.
It's not broken.
No,
is my point.
No,
and because Call of Duty Cold War is still great, right? And there's been other big time games. I mean, you look at the launch of the PS4, and that Dark Souls game came out, right? We had Miles Morales come out and various other things that have dropped this winter season that work.
Yeah.
So COVID to me is not a good enough excuse. You didn't get game testers in a virtual world now where everything is done from home. That's piss poor excuse.
Well, so this probably forces CD Projekt Red to absolutely make another Witcher game their next game.
I imagine it will be.
Yeah. I don't think they have a choice.
Well, I think if you say anything, I don't know that the brand of CD Projekt Red is harmed as much as the brand of Cyberpunk 2077, whereas Witcher still has power as a name,
right?
And it's kind of like Bethesda, right? So Bethesda's done some pretty stupid stuff recently, but at the same time, for their Fallout 76s, you get a Doom Eternal,
right?
And so it'll be interesting to see when the next Elder Scrolls come out, how they rebound, right? But largely, the good thing to take out of this is that Stadia is not that bad, all right? And when I do play Valhalla, it'll probably be on Stadia. Because then I could play it on my phone in bed, So I just wanted to kind of bounce back at the same time and say, hey, Stadia is pretty good. And you could probably play it with whatever you happen to have in your home right now, including Cyberpunk.
Nah.
Okay. Well, that is this week's episode. We want to thank you for listening. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Budget Arcade. You can go to our website, www.budgetarcade.com. And don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/budgetarcade. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Facebook.com/budgetarcade. And our music is provided by the one and only Stimmage. You can find his music at metroidmetal.com. We want to thank our Patreon subscribers, Namek and Chadworthy. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And we will catch you on the next episode. Have a good day. Game on.
Podcast Network.
You didn't.
Yep.
I thought you learned your lesson.
I guess not.
Dad, the vultures are back.
Okay, kids, you know the drill. Windows up.
Gone too far looking for a good deal on gas? Try Price Match, only from BP Me Rewards at participating BP and Amoco stations. Learn more at bp.com/best price.
Meyer brand snacks promise the great value you expect with a quality guarantee in every bite. And summertime snacking is our most favorite snacking season of all because Meyer brand makes it deliciously easy. From new lemonade flavors to classic ingredients for backyard s'mores to creamy ice cream varieties like new limited edition Purple Cow by Meyer Very Berry Americana with ribbons of real strawberry and blueberry swirls waving in creamy vanilla ice cream. Stop into Meyer and discover big taste and bigger savings on Meyer brand summertime snacks.